I got to light up some words with a bit of fire. I never thought I'd be paid to play with fire. One of the really important aspects of the work of the Academy and the work that I'm intimately involved with is engaging people with science. Now, science is all around us. It's in everything that we do. It's in the camera that's recording this conversation. It's in the device that is going to be used to watch it. It's in the medicine that you take. It's in the transport that you use to get to work or school. It's so important and it's part of our everyday lives. So part of what I do on behalf of the Academy is to open people's eyes to how much science is around them and how important it is to their quality of life and their health and their longevity and pretty much everything that they do. Well, I always knew I wanted to be a journalist. I was always a lover of writing and of reading and of news and current affairs. So that was definitely the path I was going to choose. But I had some broad interests. And so at school I studied double major English, I did double major maths, I did chemistry, politics, media. I went off to Charles Sturt University in Bathurst and I studied journalism there, and I was lucky enough to have an internship with Channel 10 in Sydney. And I remember on my first day I went off to the committal hearing of a serial killer who was later convicted of a number of murders, and I thought, wow, this is something that you just don't get the chance to see every day. When I finished university, I got a cadetship with ABC and I travelled all over the country with that. In Geraldton in Western Australia, I was working on the Rural Report, which was an early morning show, and I was reporting on farmers and primary industries. And I do remember that occasionally, once or twice a week, I'd show up to work at 5 o'clock in the morning to find a crayfish or a watermelon or some other bit of produce waiting for me on the doorstep. An opportunity came along with Australian Associated Press. Working for them in Perth, I covered all kinds of stories, from big court cases to the fire on a naval vessel, a major protest and all kinds of other stuff as well. While I was still with AAP, I moved over to Sydney, and eventually I worked my way up to the job that I most coveted at AAP, and that was National Medical Correspondent. Now, I've always been drawn to those gory medical journals and magazines. The pictures are terrific, and I used to freak people out at work by browsing them while eating my lunch. So I came to Canberra to work in the press gallery to report on federal politics, and my rounds were health and aged care and science.
Order there being 39 ayes.
I kind of realised that the press gallery wasn't going to work for me because it often involves long hours, and you know, Parliament might sit till 2 a.m. and as a journalist you have to be there until Parliament finishes sitting. That wasn't going to work with a small child at home. And so I came to work at the Australian Medical Association. It's like the Doctors' Union. On behalf of them I was writing press releases, again also looking at the Medical Journal of Australia, so I'd kind of come back around to that. And then I saw in the newspapers what I thought would be my dream job, the Director of Communications and Outreach at the Australian Academy of Science. And I looked at it and I thought, what better job could there be? It combines my love of writing and of meeting people and of spreading the good word, and it combines all of this with the ability to meet people with enormous brains and who've done really exciting things and who are exploring really exciting avenues of research. I am responsible for the media, the publications, events, fundraising. We also have a library and some online education resources. I might, in any one week, do some tweeting and using some Facebook on behalf of the Academy. I might be putting something up on YouTube. I might be writing a press release about the Academy's work to create a plan to save Australia's endangered ecosystems, like the Barrier Reef or the Ningaloo Reef in Western Australia or the grasslands outside of Melbourne. I assist with organising events. Next year's series is going to be about bringing science fiction to science fact. So we're going to be featuring people who are experts in robotics. One woman who has invented a telepathy helmet so she can move objects with her mind. There's a guy coming to speak about warp drive and an invisibility cloak. So I get to play with some really interesting ideas and topics. I've met a number of people who've won the Nobel Prize, which has been extraordinary in itself. To have met one, but I've met 4, which is just amazing. I went to a ball at Parliament House, and there I was able to shake the hand of Buzz Aldrin, who was the second man on the moon. And then not long after that, I had the opportunity to sit down to lunch with David Attenborough. What a superstar. He was extraordinary. We were going around the table at the lunch, and all of these really big, impressive, high-achieving scientists were introducing themselves. Just, you know, I'm Professor so-and-so, and this is the kind of work that I do. When it got to me, I said, look, I'm not one of these people. I don't do this important work. All I do is talk about it. And he leaned over and he looked me in the eye and he said, oh, Kylie, so do I, and we do very important work, you and I. And I thought, oh, David Attenborough told me I'm important. Teaching people to think scientifically is teaching people to think critically and to make decisions for themselves based on the facts and the evidence, not based on a hunch. And I'll give you an example of that. One of the publications that the Academy has produced in the last couple of years, which has been really well received and really important, is the science of immunisation, questions and answers. Immunisation is a really important public health measure. If children aren't immunised, then the people who can't be immunised because they're babies or because they're ill or because they're very elderly, they're put at risk. So you might choose for yourself to go and put yourself at risk of getting measles, but if you then pass the measles on to a baby or to your grandma, then that person isn't going to have as much of a chance of survival. Another reason that what I do is important is that science is actually really exciting, and a lot of people, I think, are afraid of it because it looks a little bit daunting and a little bit hard, but it is so much fun. So much fun. Since I've been in this job, I've been able to blow things up, and you know, you cannot discount the fun of blowing things up. I've been able to visit labs that I never thought I'd be able to see. I went to a physics lab in South Australia where they're learning to use light at the nano level, subparticular level, to measure things. So they're doing everything from measuring the chemical composition of wine to measuring minute changes in the environment for a fetus while it's still in the womb. And to be able to bring those changes and translate that work so that people can understand it and get excited about it, that's part of the fun and important part of my job. My passion and my heart still lies with health and medicine, and so I think that at some point I will be moving back towards there. And what I'd like to do if I do that is to work on behalf of medical research and on behalf of users of the health system, which really, when it comes down to it, is all of us, to improve federal policy, to create space for better research and for more strategic research approaches, so that ultimately the health care of everybody can be improved. I think my science teachers would laugh if they knew I worked here, so I wasn't that great at science.